Good morning. It's 8:07 on News Talk 1079. It's a Thursday. Want to welcome you to the program this morning. And, you know, November 5th was truly a good day in America. And I had a hope, I really did hope. I hoped beyond hope that the Democrat Party had learned something about the United States, about our republic. I don't really care if they learned anything about Donald Trump, but I had hoped that they had learned that ongoing lying, gaslight. You know what? Let me point something out, and some of you are going to be offended by this, and you're probably going to text me, and you're going to lecture me, and that's fine. Bring it on. There are different categories of lying, and it's all wrong. I'm not going to say sometimes there's good lying, although there is. If Nazis bang on your door asking to turn over the Jews, and they ask you, are you harboring any Jews? And you are, your virtuous lie is to say no. So there are these isolated moments where lying is virtuous. Now, there are some who absolutely would tell you, you never, ever, 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 ever lie. I would actually disagree with that because I'm kind of a utilitarian, and I would say the injustice to the world, if I have to choose between lying and someone dying, lying is less of an injustice. And so, yeah, but those aren't situations that you face all the time or every day. Although, does this dress make me look fat? I mean, that's one where, you gotta make a decision in that situation. But let's talk about lying in politics for a moment. Lying in politics, if you lie and say, I only weigh 224 pounds, when in reality, you might want to flip the last couple of digits. And maybe even more than that. That's a lie. Should it happen? No. But you're not really causing harm to the United States of America if you hedge a little on your weight. You're not causing harm to the United States of America if it's not true if you say, this is the best economy we've ever had. Okay, they're lies. They shouldn't happen. But the footprint of that lie is fairly benign, especially when you compare it to lying in a way that alters the outcome of an election. Lying that impacts the health of millions and millions of people. You have to look at what is that called? There's a term for this in the military, when a bomb leaves a crater. What is the footprint of the crater? Someone will text that in for me. When you look at the damage that's caused by one lie versus another lie, when you look at and oftentimes that one of the predictors is, what is the motive for lying? If the motive for lying is, well, I really weigh 257 pounds, but 224 sounds better, I don't want to be embarrassed, then I'm going to say 224. The collateral damage of that lie is way less than telling people the COVID vaccine is harmless when in reality it's killing people. So but yet when we talk about this and we talk about the whataboutism, we talk about, both sides are doing it. Yeah, that's true. Both sides are lying. But when I look at the damage inflicted by the left's lies versus the right's lies, there is a difference there. And I keep in mind, and I keep repeating this because you need to be reminded of this, all of it's wrong. Lying shouldn't happen. I'm not advocating for lying, and I don't want anybody out there going. But if you point out that there's a damage spectrum when it comes to lies that are told. You're not advocating any of it, but you are recognizing that there's a damage spectrum when it comes to lies. The left and the lies that they tell about children and gender and transing, and those lies are horrifically damaging to children. And yet you want to come along and say, well, both sides are doing it. They're not that. They're not doing the same when it comes to outcomes. So I guess when I look at the left, the lies that they're telling you right now, and this was my original point, is they are lying to you about how America is responding to the first 100 days of the Donald Trump second term. Trump 47. America, quite frankly, when they do the data, loves what Trump's doing. And the left can't handle it. And sometimes I don't know if they're lying because they want to shape American opinion, or if they're lying because they can't accept internally that America really does like what Donald Trump's delivering. And it's probably not either or. It's a combination of the two. But sometimes it's just hard to accept a harsh reality. And for them, the fact that America loves Donald Trump's immigration policy, that America is behind what he's doing when it comes to trans sports, and they for some reason can't absorb that because the truth is just too uncomfortable for them. The remedy for this is just to keep telling the truth. And that's one of the reasons why I have grown a fondness for Harry Enton of CNN. That guy just shows up and he tells you what the data is, what the polling is. And it's painful. I'm sure that CNN, just most of those producers are probably sitting there and they're just gritting their teeth. And they know that this is something CNN's got to go through because they're rebranding and trying to regain the trust of the American people and salvage whatever credibility may be left over, probably measured in fumes, but to try and reestablish them as a trustworthy news network. I don't know if it'll work, but I think Harry Enton is part of that face. And here's the bitter pill. Here's the red pill. So all of you Trump-hating Democrats, and quite frankly, all you Trump-hating Republicans, because you do exist. I could name you because your names are fairly prominent, but I won't. But there are some Trump-hating Republicans. If you're courageous enough, here's a little bit of a red pill for you. And here we go.
All 11 million of them back in deport all undocumented immigrants. Voters favoring the government trying to deport all 11 million of them. Back in 2016, just 38% of voters wanted the government to try to deport all 11 million undocumented immigrants. Compared to where we are in 2025, 56%, the majority. The American people have come a long way on this issue, much closer to Donald Trump, and I think that's a big part of the reason why Americans are increasingly saying the country is on the right track when it comes to immigration policy, and why Donald Trump's net approval rating on that issue is in the positive.
Okay, I mean, look, that jump, the number in 2016, 38%, and now it's 56%. Okay, that's seismic. That is a radical shift. Now, if you're the Democrat or the Trump-hating Republican, and that's just hard for you to swallow, your first initial reaction is, that's not true. Those numbers aren't true. That data's not true. Okay, well, then you go to the Washington Post and you tell them it's not true. They have zero interest whatsoever to produce any data favorable to Trump. But they're measuring it. Because you know what? I think there are some more serious Democrats, courageous Democrats, that want to know where they truly stand with the American people so they know how to craft messages moving forward. They want to stay viable as a party. And the best way to stay non-viable as a party is keep living in your own delusional reality. So it's 56%. I'm telling you, America loves what Trump's doing. I know for some reason, and we've had local angles on this in recent weeks about a fondness for keeping illegals here. It exists only in the minority, and I don't mean racial minority. I mean the numerical minority. Now, I do think when you look at this 56% number, voters favor an effort to deport all 11 million. I think there's a caveat to this, and the caveat is a recognition that's probably not achievable. But America seems to love the rule of law again. And when you watch, there was another great example of how the left is just eating itself. They are cannibals that would put Jeff Dahmer to shame right now within the Democrat Party. You have Boasberg now wanting to hold Trump officials in contempt because they didn't turn a plane around over the... They don't have the authority to do that. That plane is now gone from the United States. It's over international waters. And do we want a government that orders a plane to turn around? I don't, other than if there's a national security issue at stake. That Boasberg's just mad because he didn't get his way. So now we have Kilmer Abrego Garcia, who it's becoming more and more and more clear he's an MS-13 gang member. For a few days there, the media, they were not aggressive in finding out. I'll just put it that. I call it aggressive apathy. And there truly, at times, among the media is an aggressive apathy about certain issues when they likely know the answer, but they don't really want to discover it. But the documents are coming forward now. There was a restraining order against him. He was violent against his wife or girl. I think it's his wife. He's been caught with marijuana. He's got the tattoos signifying gang affiliation. He wears the clothing. When he was arrested, he was with 2 verified gang members. I mean, at some point, the whole walks like a duck, quacks like a duck thing comes into play. And furthermore, let's talk for a moment about membership. Now, I know what membership in a church looks like because there is a documented entry for a lot of Christian churches. That's baptism. You've made a commitment. And usually there's an actual document that says, yes, I'm now a follower of Jesus, and here's a document to prove it. And there were witnesses that I was baptized and am now following Christ. Like there's membership there. If you join the NRA, you pay your dues, they send you a card. There's a clear formal documentation of your membership. My question is, what is the formal definitive proof that you're a member of a gang? Can anyone answer that question for me? Like, is there a bright line of demarcation that tells you you're in a gang? Here's your card. Signed? Do they notarize it? Is it on gold-plated paper? Like what is the actual bright line of definition that you're now part of a gang? I don't think there might be. Maybe there is. Maybe so. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. That's not a world I know. But is there that bright line of demarcation that says you're now part of a gang? I really don't know. I doubt it, though. And so the media is probably taking advantage of that. How would you prove that someone's part of a gang other than their whereabouts, their behavior, their affiliation, the external signs of it? Like, how do you know? How do you, somebody tell me, how could you go about proving that someone's a member of a gang other than there are enough clues accumulated that you know it when you see it? It's like the legal standard for obscenity. There's not really a nice bright line for what obscenity is. You just know it when you see it. I kind of feel like maybe that's gang membership too. That there's no roster. It's just, you know it when you see it. 824 on News Talk 107.9. Quick break. We'll come back after this.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Hey, it's Brad from Now 105.1 and QP99. I'm in the studio here. I love our studios, by the way. Ranger Rick back there. There's Neal and Julie doing their thing. Hey, when you want to advertise on the radio, what do? You call the radio station, right? But what do you do when you want to advertise on Facebook and Instagram and Hulu and Disney Plus and Peacock and the other TV streaming services? You can kind of click around on them and make guesses or read books or take courses online on how to do that advertising. Or you could call us at the radio station. At Sandhill Media, we take care of your local radio and digital marketing. So reach out to us at sandhillmediagroup.com and we'll make sure that your message gets heard and seen wherever your customers are.
All right, it's 8:29 on News Talk 107.9. The program, although Julie just informed me, and yesterday I was looking right outside our upstairs bedroom window are branches from our apple tree, and the buds are starting to pop. That means Michael Coates and Mother Nature don't conspire to bring us snow, and you informed me just minutes ago, Julie, it's snowing outside.
We've got a little bit of flurries going on.
Yes. Yeah, there are a few flurries. Anyway, so, April in Idaho.
That's how it works. But just because there's a little bit of flurries at around 9 a.m. on a morning, It's Idaho, and it'll probably be warm by this afternoon. And it's a great time to put down the 4-step lawn program. So don't let the flurries discourage you this morning.
Yeah, you can still throw down the humates. Mm-hmm. It's all going to be just fine. And just takes a few minutes. It's super easy. That's step one. And when you buy steps 1 through 4, you're going to save some money than if you buy them individually.
Yes.
You get a discount.
Yeah, it's a great deal. And as a calendaring note, April 26th at Town and Country Gardens, they're having a special event. It's in the evening. Mm-hmm. If you go to mygardengeek.com, you can learn all about it. But they are selling glow-in-the-dark petunias. There's going to be food at this event. These are going to go fast. There's a limited amount of them.
Yeah.
And they're actually limiting the amount each person can buy.
Yeah.
So you need to go on, learn about it. Super cool thing that they've brought in. Scientists way smarter than you and I were able to formulate and create this petunia. And when the lights are out, it's got a slight glow to it.
Yes. Super cool.
Yeah.
April 26th.
There you go.
mygardengeek.com. You can find out all the info for that.
Yeah. And if you're going to get the 4-step lawn program, they're located south of Idaho Falls on Yellowstone Highway.
Okay, Julie, several people texted in and said that bright line of demarcation is tattoos.
Yeah.
However, let me just sake of conversation. I'm not trying to be argumentative here. Membership in a church, the church itself has a document that says you're a member. NRA, they give you a card, and I would imagine they have your record in their membership file saying, you're a member of the NRA, whatever. That's different than an individual getting a tattoo. Like, is that proof of membership? Because couldn't I go out and get the same tattoo? That doesn't mean I'm part of the gang.
I think for me, what the tattoo does is signifies to everyone who's not part of the gang.
Yeah.
That you either want to be part of this gang or you are part of this gang.
Okay.
It's the people within the gang that get to decide if your tattoo has legitimacy or not.
Okay.
But you're advertising to everyone else.
Yes.
That if you have this tattoo, I am part of this gang.
Okay. Gotcha. But if I put a 26.2 sticker on my car, that doesn't mean I ran a marathon.
No, it doesn't. But you're fronting like you are.
Yeah.
And I think that law enforcement is looking for certain symbols to identify who do we need to be worried about. I mentioned to you on the break, there isn't hard, fast proof. Like this judge is asking for hard, fast proof that they're in the MS-13 gang. we had a jury just convict Lori Vallow Daybell of killing Tammy Daybell and putting her in prison for life without the possibility of parole. And it's clear she wasn't in the room. She wasn't anywhere near it. She had nothing to do with the actual killing. Yet because she's affiliated with them, she's going to spend life in prison for killing Tammy Daybell.
Right. Yeah.
That isn't, I don't know what the judge is saying is thin evidence. If you have the tattoos, you're wearing the apparel, you're with the people who are hanging out, like you're hanging out with MS-13 members, and you're getting arrested with them, and you're beating your wife, you sure have a lot of reasons to be proven guilty.
So I read in my effort to be, fully informed, because I was getting conflicting info, because you have these press conferences from the Trump administration, and they're saying he's an MS-13 gang member, but you had all of these media outlets reporting that there's no proof he was an MS-13 gang member, and he's a family man. He's a Maryland man. And so you had this conflicting. Mm-hmm. So one of the articles that I read was, I think, the Washington Post. What you just told me, you would think would have been relevant for any news report talking about this. He'd been violent. He'd been with MS-13 gang members when he was arrested. He has the tats. He wears the clothes. They didn't put any of that in there. Mm-hmm. They lie.
Yeah, absolutely.
They just flat out lie.
Mm-hmm. And yesterday, when Pam Bondi when Caroline Levitt was in front of the press corps, and she brought in Rachel Morin's mom. So Rachel Morin is the mother of 5 who was killed in Maryland by an MS-13 gang member who just got proven guilty for it.
Yeah.
When they brought in Rachel Morin's mom, at the follow-up, they asked her a question, like somebody in the press corps asked her a question, and with tears in her eyes, she said, "Please just tell the truth."
Yes, I have that. Should I play it?
Yeah, play that, because that's all we're asking. Yeah. Don't tell the story of Garcia and leave out relevant details.
Yeah, the media's reaction to that was fascinating.
Any questions for Patty or for me? No?
I have a question.
No? Anybody? Okay. We'll see you all later. The president will be at his dinner later this evening. Thank you.
Thank you for being here this morning.
We really appreciate you. Thank you.
I'm so sorry for your loss.
Thank you. Please tell the truth. Tell the truth.
Yeah.
Tell how violent it really is. This is about protecting our children. It's more than just politics or votes or just anything. It's about national security, protecting Americans, protecting our children. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Okay, so her story was so compelling, they went out of character. Mm-hmm. They actually became people, these journalists, because they realize this is the impact that illegal immigration is having on America. People are dying because of Biden's immigration policy. And, I mean, have you ever seen the press corps like that where I'm so sorry for your loss. Thank you. Like, they were compelled by her story. And all she was doing was saying, just please tell the truth on this.
Mm-hmm. So what you couldn't see in that exchange is they offered up for the press to ask questions. Only one person raised their hand or said, "I have a question." Yeah. And Caroline Levitt, I don't know who it was, but Caroline Levitt shut them down.
I think they already had a question, and Caroline knew this was not going to be even relevant to this.
Yeah, so she shut them down, and all the other journalists just started offering up their condolences to Patty.
And then she turned and said, "Please tell the truth."
Yes, and that's how compelling the story was. It's way too long for us to play her remarks in front of the press corps, but she talked all about how there wasn't a part of Rachel's body that didn't have abrasions on it.
Yeah.
Because she fought back so hard and because the attack on her was so violent.
Yeah.
And it took the jury just like minutes to find this guy guilty. There was no question on the jury's part that this man had done this. And I just don't understand why they don't talk about Rachel Morin. We're so busy talking about this MS potential I'll give them their word, MS-13 gang member Garcia. But this case just ended last week and nobody even mentioned it in the mainstream media.
Yeah.
There's been numbers reported. There were like CNN, MSNBC. They didn't even talk about this guilty verdict for this MS-13 gang member. But we've spent hours and hours and hours talking about Garcia.
This is Chris Van Hollen. He went to El Salvador, and this was a predictable outcome. I don't know what he thought or what kind of ego he's got. He got completely rejected. There's some sort of, it jumps a little bit because he was saying things and then the microphones were going to his translator behind him. So they actually cut out all the translated parts. But this is what he told the media while he was there.
I also told his wife and family that I would try to meet with Mr. Abrego Garcia while I was here. So I asked the vice president if I could meet with Mr. Abrego Garcia. And he said, well, you need to make earlier provisions to go visit CCOT. I said, I'm not interested at this moment in taking a tour of CCOT. I just want to meet with Mr. Abrego Garcia. He said he was not able to make that happen. He said he needed a little more time. I asked him if I came back next week, whether I'd be able to see Mr. Abrego Garcia. He said he couldn't promise that either. So I asked him if I could get on the phone, either video phone or just a phone, and talk to Mr. Abrego Garcia. So I could just ask him how he's doing so I could report back to his family. He said he could not arrange that. He said maybe if the American embassy were to ask, maybe that could happen. So I will certainly ask the American embassy to ask the government of El Salvador to connect us by phone. I asked him how about his family? How can he talk to his wife so that she can hear his voice? I let him know that the family has requested that. He said he was not sure whether he could make that happen. So we have an unjust situation here. The Trump administration is lying about Abrego Garcia.
Okay. No, the arrest records are there. This is such a weird look, Julie. I played the Harry Enton audio. 56% of the country in favor of the Trump policy. And I don't even know if it's the Trump policy. They're in favor of deporting all 11 million illegals.
That has jumped so
a lot.
Much.
Yes.
And I would consider us, pretty hardcore conservative. And neither you or I believe in deporting all 11 million.
Yeah. If you could, without massive disruption, yes.
Yes.
I'd like to see how the question was asked.
Yeah.
That would matter to me because I feel like I'm probably in that 56%. And I think a chunk of that 56% recognizes the pragmatic reality that that's probably not going to happen. But if we could do it, that would be the lawful thing to do.
Yeah. I saw that clip this morning. What you played happened just this morning on CNN. And so it was playing on our TVs while we're talking about other stuff. And then it popped on X. So I sent it to you simply because that's staggering. That is a staggering number that the Trump administration by proxy has that much support in what is happening here. Man, why are you picking this hill to die on? And there's another point here that needs to be made about, tell me his name again,
Van Hollen.
Van Hollen.
Yeah.
Patty, that's Rachel Morin's mom, said in the press conference yesterday, he has never spoken to her once. Yet he references Garcia's family 3 times in these remarks. That he's doing things for them, that they requested this and that he's helping them. Yet he never spoke to Patty 1 time since Rachel's death. Why are you picking this hill to die on?
I do not understand. I don't understand it. It is so counter. Are they that reflexive? Are they that afflicted with Trump derangement syndrome that the enemy of my enemy is my friend? Yeah. Even if the enemy of my enemy is kind of a sleazy, despicable person, I'm still going to raise them up in my mind that they are a victim. They're a good person. They are simply because they were on the wrong end of the Donald Trump stick.
The hatred is so deep.
It really is. This is how Donald Trump is breaking the left. And in one way, it's a beautiful thing, but you look at it and you're like, you're really making this too easy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is going to make winning elections so easy, Julie. If the elections are secure, which we have to talk about that. There was an EO yesterday. The Democrats are going to make picking up seats in the House and in the Senate super easy because they are building our arsenal for the midterm next year. Yep. It's going to be really painful for them if they want to keep going down this pro-MS-13 gang member narrative.
They're writing the campaign ads.
Absolutely,
they're doing these gaggles, and they're writing the campaign ads for them.
Yeah, it's so I saw a meme where Chris Van Hollen had the Photoshop tattoos on his head, which was pretty funny. So
to talk about those tattoos. So this is to the beginning of the conversation based off of your monologue, which is, are they supposed to show a card and that means they're part of MS-13? So we were talking about the Chicago Bulls hat and the tattoos that Garcia has. We've had multiple people mention in the text line that with the Hells Angels, so different gang.
Yeah.
If you get their signature tattoo and you're not part of their gang, they will harm you.
Okay.
For repping their tattoo. I can't imagine it's any different in MS-13.
Yeah, that's probably true.
So it's got to be pretty darn good proof. If you're repping their tattoo, you're probably part of them.
You don't get to impersonate.
Yes. You don't get to cosplay as an MS-13 member.
That's true. Which, police do that. You can't impersonate being a police officer.
Right.
I'm not saying they're a gang, but I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, if you're gonna wear the uniform, you better be it.
Yeah. What was that movie with Leonardo DiCaprio where he pretends to be a pilot?
Oh yeah.
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 I mean, you can't do these things.
No, you're right. You're right. Yeah. People are saying their tattoos are their membership card.
Okay. So why did the mainstream media act like that was just ridiculous?
Yeah.
Just ridiculous that you can't determine their MS-13 by their tattoos.
Yeah.
That's how they're a card carrier.
Right. Same with stolen valor. Like there's a good side and a,
yes.
This cuts both ways, but
yeah.
Yeah. All right. 8:45 News Talk 107.9. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back after this on this Thursday. It's 8:52 on News Talk 107.9. Neal Larson and Julie Mason. Despite this morning's weather, it is grilling season.
Mm-hmm.
And that means steaks and or ribs and or dogs and or chicken and or whatever else kind of meat you want to slap onto your grill. And Julie and I both get our grill-worthy meats at Grand Peaks Prime Meats.
Look, I'm still hung up on the very first thing that you said. I mean, the meat, yum, all good, great. But you're going to let a little bit of flurry stop you from grilling? You grill in the middle of the winter.
Oh, heavens, no, I won't let that stop me.
Yeah.
No, I'm just
saying. Be brave, people.
Julie, there are some people of less or more delicate constitution that would not grill in this weather.
Oh, be brave, people.
And I just want to speak to the people of a less delicate or a more delicate constitution. You know what I'm saying.
Toughen up, Buttercup. Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, I'm just saying. Yeah, I guess maybe.
Throw some brats on the grill and enjoy them from Grand Peaks Prime Meats.
Yes. So the thing you do, go to gpprimemeats.com, look at their packages and specials, and just figure out what works for your family. You already know what your family likes, and if you like steaks, they got it. If you like burgers, they got it. If you like pre-seasoned burger patties, they've got. I still need to get the jalapeno.
You're gonna love them. You need to.
Okay, I got to do that. Dogs, everything. Sous vide
they also
meals.
have pre-made meals. They make your life easier too. So, and if you are planning a big Easter meal. You need to get on that. That's this weekend. They can still help you.
Ain't nothing wrong with an Easter steak, is there?
Yeah, or ham.
Could be a new thing. Oh, yes, that's true. Easter ham is fine. All right. gpprimemeats.com. We'll be back. We'll wrap up this hour just ahead. 8:58 on News Talk 1079. Super viral video after the Blue Origin pod landed, Julie. And there's, we'll just say, some curious stuff about it. So we're actually going to lay that out. We'll do a flash poll in the next hour. Do you really think that Katy Perry, Gayle King, and the others went into space? Because there's a lot of skepticism about it. That's coming up next hour. All right, welcome back. It's 9:07 on News Talk 1079. Neal Larson along with Julie Mason. And Julie, we want to talk about the Carmen line. Can we talk about the Carmen line for just a moment? The Carmen line is about 67 miles up. If you can find a way to get there, then you too could be called an astronaut.
Basically, you experience weightlessness.
Well, you're right. You did. Now, so we've had, obviously, all of the NASA astronauts. We've had a few people go up, in the Blue Origin or the SpaceX capsules. I think Michael Jordan made it up there a couple of times when he did some dunks in the NBA. So I think that it was, However, there is very viral video after the celebrity event, whatever it was the other day, and people are skeptical that it was all CGI because it looks a little artificial. When you look at the launch video, it looks a little artificial. And then when right before the 6 come out of the capsule, you see that door open toward the inside. And then the people on the outside who are supposed to use a tool to open it up to let them out, they sort of scramble. The interpretation is they're kind of panicking because they weren't supposed to open the door. It was Jeff Bezos that was supposed to step up, use the tool, open the door, and let them out. Now, keep in mind, the conspiracy ecosystem on the internet is vibrant. So there may be a very, very innocent explanation for why this happened. Maybe the door could open because at that speed, the pressure is going to want to suck the door out, okay? So they could open it inward a little bit, but not all the way because it was partially locked, whatever. Okay, so you could make a scientific argument that it could be like that, and that doesn't mean that it all was a hoax. Yeah, I'm trying to give the best
benefit of the doubt possible.
Yes. So I'm just curious. I have a basic question for our audience. I don't know if we're going to do the full-blown call-in flash poll, but for those who've seen this video and have been watching this and have seen the circulation of the videos online, do you think that they really went into space? Because there are an awful lot of people who think that it's fake, it's a hoax, and it was a publicity stunt. So Jeff Bezos could look like he's keeping up with Elon Musk.
Yeah. What's your thoughts?
I think it went up there.
Okay.
I do. But I totally. However, let me say it. I say that with the softest level of confidence that I could possibly have. If it came out tomorrow, it was all a Hollywood production and a staged hoax, I'd be like, not surprised.
Yeah.
So I don't say it with a great deal of conviction, but I look at it and I'm thinking that'd be hard to pull off. There are people in the region, they saw the rocket go up and they've been online saying, no, it definitely went up there and it landed. And so, but I think there is a possibility there. Maybe it was just a hoax and a stunt that they were able to pull off with CGI and a few people at a quote-unquote command central and make it look like that.
Yeah, I'm probably somewhere in between it absolutely didn't happen and it happened. I would say it was absolutely a Hollywood production as far as staged events, and it was important that Jeff Bezos show up with that tool and unlock it. And
yes, that part.
Yes, all of that was staged. Yeah. All of it was staged. The outfits staged. Everything staged. In fact, I think they probably had a conversation about what are you going to say after you get off the rocket, almost like lines in a movie.
Yeah.
I also wouldn't be surprised if they actually weren't up there for 11 minutes.
Yeah.
That they maybe experienced 2 minutes of weightlessness. And
well, no, the whole thing was 11 minutes. They only had 2 to 3 minutes of that curve, where they're curving around.
Up to down was 11 minutes.
Yeah. And the thing is, they're not in orbit.
No.
The reason why they're weightless is the same reason why you feel weightless when you go on Wicked at Lagoon. Like you go over that top curve, and so you're actually falling just enough that and that capsule's just falling with you.
Yes.
So that's why it feels weight. It's not orbit weightlessness. It's you're on a lagoon ride.
Trajectory weightlessness.
You're just on a really big version of Wicked.
Okay. So great, whatever. If you have seen a comparison online of other re-entry, ships or whatever you want to call them, capsules is probably a better word, and they're all burned and everything. Okay, that's over the top. This isn't going to be burned. They didn't go through that level of the atmosphere. So if you're thinking of it that way, that's not what's going to happen to this capsule. It's not going to get all burned and charred on the outside. But I am a little surprised at how clean it is. And it makes me wonder if they kind of cleaned it all up so it looked really pretty when they got off of it and stuff. Because if you watch the touchdown of it in that desert, the amount of dirt and everything that is kicked up is pretty enormous.
That's true. Yeah, there's a lot.
And then all of a sudden they're exiting it and it's all pretty and pristine. Yeah. I think that's weird.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, text in, did they go to space or not? You know what this is like, Julie? I remember a few years ago, we took a little family trip, I think with our 3 youngest, up to Flathead Lake.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I found a road that would drive right up along the lake on the west side of Flathead around Glacier that would actually take you to the Canadian border. And it was COVID. Like there was a lot. It was kind of a crazy time. And I remember we took this gravel road like 30 miles. And of course, it's illegal to cross the border without a passport and all of that. But there was this little monument right at the border. And my kids may or may not have walked into Canada 20 or 30 feet and then, of course, walked back out. Can I say my kids have been to Canada? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But have they? Like they have. I feel like going above that line for 2 minutes just to say you've been to space is like my kids walking across that border just to say they've been to Canada. It was a fun moment. Don't get me wrong. And they can say they've been to Canada and it novel. But for me, it's sort of like, I remember the first time I was actually in Texas was about a 2-hour layover at Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. Have I been to Texas?
I was just going to say that. I bet I've been in the Atlanta airport 5 times.
Yeah.
I haven't visited any of Georgia.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know, can you count it?
Yeah.
Because as a family, like if you count, well, how many states have you been to? We have a rule. If all you did was sit in an airport during a layover, you can't count that you've been to that state because you haven't experienced
the state,
really anything of it.
Yeah.
I feel like technically they did go to space, but not really.
Uh-huh.
Like it's the lowest minimum threshold to be able to say you've gone to space. So it's a little frustrating that there's all this hoopla around it.
I would agree with that too. I would agree. I don't know. I don't know if you can say they've been to space. I feel like all of this was way overblown and I'm not sure they got out of it what they wanted. I thought it was a little bit of mockery of women. I know that's not what they intended, but you kind of played into some very often reported stereotypes of women. And I'm like, you guys aren't helping your cause here. What are you doing?
Yeah, you're really not.
Yeah.
Do you believe and feel that most women felt represented on that flight?
I can absolutely say I wasn't, but maybe somebody did. I don't know. I didn't. That is not how I want to be represented. Meaning, I don't gain cred points with the people that matter to me by having the most expensive handbag on my shoulder.
Yeah.
And this felt like because you were rich, you got to go.
Yeah.
Not because you really did anything.
You're rich and you're famous.
Yeah.
And Bezos knew that if we put Katy Perry and Gayle King on here, then it's going to get, a lot more cameras. And it feels like it's a styrofoam accomplishment.
Yes.
I will say that. It feels very, very styrofoam to me.
Yeah. I think one way that you could probably relate as possibly our demographic here in East Idaho is we have a lot of people who hunt who listen to this show.
Yeah.
And they don't have respect for people who get taken on like gaming hunts. And the guide finds you the animal to shoot.
Yeah.
They prefer to do it themselves because they believe that you've actually become the true hunter then.
Yeah.
And if you go on a gaming hunt and somebody else tracks down your prey and then you're like, oh, hey, get in here. Now it's time for you to shoot. And you come in. Are you really the hunter?
Right. It's kind of an all hat, no cattle kind of.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. True. Somebody in all caps just texted, nobody cares. I do care if it was a hoax.
Yeah.
Because that's just blatant manipulation.
Yeah.
But I think that's hard to pull off.
I guess they could have sent up a capsule and them not been in it.
Was there continuous camera coverage of the capsule landing and them getting out of the capsule? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah. Did they know exactly where it was going to land?
I don't think, pretty good guess, but it landed and then they had to drive all those trucks up to it.
Yeah, because out in the desert somewhere. So, okay. All right. 208-542-1079. And if you'd like to join us on the program, we'd love to hear from you. If you want to talk about this immigration craziness with Kilmer, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's his first name. Yeah.
Abrego Garcia.
Abrego Garcia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And if you want to talk about that, you can. Big news yesterday. The family of Victor Perez in Pocatello has filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the city of Pocatello. The only thing that surprised me about that was not that they filed, but it was very, very quick, like very soon. And I don't know if there would be any reason to wait or to do it before the investigation is complete or to wait until after it's complete. I think just in my mind, they would have waited until the investigation was complete before they filed, but maybe not. We'll see.
A firm out of Utah? Not here in Idaho, right? It was a firm from somewhere else.
State, yeah.
Yeah. So my interpretation of that could be completely wrong, but my interpretation of that is the video that was shared virally of the shooting shows enough mistakes by the Pocatello Police Department that a law firm felt more than confident to represent this family.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. So, I mean, I don't think there's going to be a lot of progress on anything, though, because if you're Pocatello's attorneys, or maybe it's an insurance company you're probably suing an insurance policy. That's probably what's happening. Their attorneys are going to say, we're not even going to negotiate until we get the results of the investigation back.
Right.
So it might be, and we're not really sure how long that's going to take, do we?
I think it would help Pocatello if they sped it up a little bit, if they asked for it to be, thorough yet speedy. You need both.
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe they think time is on their side, and the longer they drag, that if they do it quickly, there's still a lot of irritation, inflammation,
raw emotion about it. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I don't know. There's so many parts that play to this.
There are. It's also a mayoral election year in Pocatello. There's so much going on with that it'll be interesting to see what happens with all of it in the coming months. So, all right, 922-208-542-1079. If you'd like to join us this morning on the program, we'll be back after this. Okay. Migrant with multiple arrests in a Chicago court. How long before the Democrats start sidling up to it?
Oh my gosh, this is the second time I've gotten really dizzy this morning. When I stood up from listening to your monologue, I almost fell over.
Really? When did you eat last?
I had my protein bar during your monologue.
Okay. Prior to that?
6 o'clock yesterday.
Okay.
A minute.
How much did you eat at 6 o'clock?
What did we have for dinner? Oh, I made a green salad with avocado and carrots and then chicken, and that was dinner.
Oh, okay. How's your energy level?
I feel okay.
Okay.
I was going to go walking again. I did 6 miles yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to go walking again, but I'm breaking in a new pair of shoes.
Yes.
Nasty blister on the heel of my left foot.
You probably had to wear like a Band-Aid until that.
I had Band-Aids on it.
You did?
Because I had walked, the first time I walked in these shoes was I did 2 miles in Arizona.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this one heel is going to be kind of rough.
Yeah.
And so I put preemptive Band-Aids on.
Yeah.
And still ended up with that.
Ouch.
I think I'm making fajitas for dinner tonight.
That's what we're having. Is fajitas. Yeah? Yep.
That's what's on the menu. We'll see if I change my mind. But that's what's there.
My mission is clear. I'm focused. I'm prepared. I'm ready. I've been trained by the best. I went to Howard University. That overturned legal segregation in this country. I've been taught in those classrooms where Thurgood Marshall once taught. I'm not afraid of no president. Donald Trump, we're ready for you. We're coming for you. We're standing up for you. We're fighting on. We're not going down silent. Victory, my friends, is clear. It's now. And I'm not waiting 4 years. I'm waiting 2 until a speaker by the name of Hakeem Jeffries comes to bring us some rest. Come on, ladies. It's up to us. We saved this democracy before. We'll save it now. Let's go.
All right. That was not Jasmine Crockett. That was Letitia James.
Uh-huh.
She is utterly panicking right now.
Yeah, it was like Jasmine Crockett and Randy Weingarten had a baby, and it turned out to be Letitia James.
Yes, that's exactly how it sounded. And normally, she's fairly even keel. Not totally, but fairly. That was a much more animated Letitia James because she knows that she's been caught engaged in mortgage fraud.
Mm-hmm.
And look, karma is rough, but it's coming back for Letitia James.
You're going to miss that opportunity? You're not going to say what you just said yesterday?
I feel like yesterday was a one-off.
Okay.
I mean, we got to tell the audience now, but...
Yesterday he said karma's a Hillary.
I did. Okay, we could use it more than once, I guess. It was all right. But I feel like it sounded like sort of anger mixed with enthusiasm. I think it honestly underneath that is just fear. She probably knows that she's going to face some big consequences for this. And I also think it's interesting that she thinks that Hakeem Jeffries is the guy that's going to come along and be the Trump slayer.
Well, she rallied 2 different groups there, right? The first group was, hey, Hakeem, come and save me. That was the first group she tried to rally.
Yeah.
Second group was, she says, come on, ladies. So she thinks she can get half the population behind her just because of your biological sex. Yeah. Well, that's not how that works.
No, it's not how it works at all. I see this as just one cycle of the downward spiral of Letitia James. And these people have a way of, sacrificing their political careers. Why in the world would you go after Trump? It wasn't quite mortgage fraud, but on a financial crime when you've committed a financial crime.
I think there's an arrogance that everything you do is going to be covered by those who are helping you.
You are then tempting karma to happen.
Yeah.
And honestly, The Democrat Party only cares about you if you are still of value to them.
Mm-hmm.
Why would Letitia James be of any value to them at this point? Her efforts against Trump to try to take him down completely failed. Completely. It was an utter disaster and a failure. And the Democrat Party has a long, long trail of dead political bodies because they were no longer of any use.
Yeah.
And I think we're just watching this just sort of fall apart for Letitia James.
Yeah.
In an embarrassing way.
It is. And I hope that she meets the same fate that she has been presented with by other people. Or that she has presented other people with is how I should have said that. Because you get what you give.
Yeah.
That was a lesson I taught my kids when they were little.
Yeah.
That was a phrase I used repeatedly in my house. You get what you give.
Yeah.
You want to throw a fit about this, you go right ahead. I don't think you're going to like the returns.
That comes back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. So she's getting what she gave.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't it feel good?
Yeah, it's just a natural...
The karma loop is about to be closed.
Yes,
and
yeah.
it's just, do I have too much glee over this?
No, I don't even know if it's glee.
It's glee.
Is it for you? For
Oh,
me,
I'm
it's
thrilled
just,
by this.
I hope that we learn lessons from this.
Yeah.
This, you get what you give, happens all the time.
Yeah.
That's why I think these people who vandalize Teslas and are recorded on the cameras, you're going to be that stupid. You get what you give. I hope they get every bit of penalty that can come to them. I hope it happens.
Yeah.
There's lots of ways you get what you give. And it happens to Republicans too.
Yeah.
So it's a lesson we all should have learned when we were 3 or 4, pre-K.
Yeah.
Because it's valuable your entire life.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. You want to hear a weird story?
Okay.
This is a curveball. Apparently, the White House tech chief, Michael Kratsios, says the United States has cutting-edge technology capable of, quote, bending time and space. He serves as director of the White House Office of Science and Tech. Okay, if we have it, why in the world would we tell anybody we have it?
Yeah, and why aren't we using that for our benefit?
Maybe we are.
Maybe.
We don't have to know about it.
Yeah.
Made the comment during a keynote speech at the Endless Frontiers retreat in Austin, Texas. Just weeks into his new role, Kratsios wasted no time painting a picture of American innovation that, if true, would in all likelihood place us light years ahead of our global competitors. We seem to have lost focus and vision, to have lowered our sights and let systems and structures and bureaucracies muddle us along, but we are capable of so much more. Our technologies permit us to manipulate time and space. They leave distance violated because things cause things to grow and improve productivity.
What was that sentence?
Verbatim, they leave distance, violated, cause things to grow and improve productivity. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
I don't get that either.
Though the statement lacked specifics, it lines up with something President Trump has hinted at for years, namely that the U.S. is holding advanced capabilities that the public has never seen. Just last week, Trump told reporters, we have weaponry that nobody has any idea what it is, and it is the most powerful in the world, not even close. He stopped short of elaborating, but the timing of his remarks did not feel like a coincidence. This kind of talk is not without precedent. Since its inception in 1958, DARPA, the Pentagon's secretive research arm, has been quietly developing breakthrough technologies decades ahead of their time. Okay.
I'm thinking, what do I want them to use this for to solve everyday problems? Because we still have a lot of everyday problems that we're not working on.
Well, yeah, I know.
I mean, I appreciate that they're going to use it for weaponry to keep us safe. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I do want the most vibrant and well-trained military and well-armed military in the entire world.
Yeah.
Maybe in the entire universe. But what else can we use this on if we have it?
I don't know. I don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
We can't even answer that question until we actually know what If it even exists. Like,
can they fix the McDonald's ice cream machines? Like, if you've got this tech, there's got to be just everyday stuff that you can repair.
That's true. Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be great. I'd love that.
If we can vaporize things, why aren't we vaporizing garbage and getting rid of it?
Oh, that's
why do we have landfills?
Yeah. I don't, because you know why? I will tell you exactly why. Because people need jobs.
Okay.
I'm not even exaggerating.
Well, that's the big excuse for why we don't have a flat tax rate.
We stay stuck to keep people employed.
Yeah.
And we don't move forward in technology and other stuff because we got to keep people employed.
Yeah.
It's the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah, for me, that's the biggest reason. There's other downsides to the flat tax rate.
Yeah.
But that's the biggest reason that the flat tax rate will never, ever happen.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I thought about that the other day, and who was I talking with? It was one of my kids. Anyway, other countries' taxation can be so simple. Like, they actually send it to you. This is what we think your tax is. Are you good with that? Yep, I'm good with that. Mm-hmm. And you're done. And we don't have to have the complex tax system that we have. We just don't.
Mm-hmm.
You could have a national sales tax and do away with filing extending every April 15th. We could have a much simpler way, still fund government, yes, downsize government and get it to where it ought to be, but then have a very simple and straightforward tax that's very difficult to evade, like a national sales tax. And then for the nod that you give to low-income people, because maybe they're like, well, why do we tax everyone? Because right now the current system doesn't tax lower-income people. Mm-hmm. Well, you give them, you could even do like a monthly tax rebate up to, say, $60,000 or whatever the number is. And that way they're getting relief each month or each quarter. But everybody's got to pay the sales tax. They could absolutely do that.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, like so many other issues, it is made deliberately complex to keep an industry rolling. And anytime there has been increased talk or increased likelihood of simplifying our tax code, in the very same way, the pharmaceutical lobby gets busy or the tobacco lobby gets big or whoever. You have the accounting lobby that begins to panic and makes lots of good arguments as to why we need a complex, difficult to navigate tax code.
Right.
Because they stay in business.
Yeah. It just benefits a subsection of the government.
Yeah, it does. All right. It's 9:37. News Talk 107.9. Quick break. We'll come back and continue after this. Was there news in the folder this morning? Yeah. Why is that? I don't know why. It's missing. Okay, it's not a date issue. I don't know. That's weird. Let's see if we can. No valid rotator entry. NL. Okay, that's weird. I've never seen. 9:43 on News Talk 107.9. Neil Larson along with Julie Mason.
Did you guys know that 10% of Americans don't sleep in an actual bed? Maybe they're falling asleep in front of the TV in a recliner and it's just more comfortable. They stay there all night or on a couch. Well, Timberline has a solution for those people who do not find a bed as the most comfortable way to get your Z's at night. They have a line of recliners called Z-cliners, and they are actually made to be slept in. You're not buying it for a recliner. You're buying it to be your bed. Z-cliners have multiple heat, massage, and recline options. They also have a zero gravity option for increased circulation. So if you're that person that maybe struggles with restless leg syndrome or something like that, a Z-cliner might be the solution for you. There's another huge perk. They are made with a fabric that is infused with minerals that help speed up the blood flow by 30%. So just having your body against that fabric, they are saying it's backed by science that it will help with your blood flow. So right now at Timberline Home in Idaho Falls, you can save an additional $300 on the Z-Kleiner. It's only for a limited time though. So if this is of interest to you, get on down to 711 East Anderson in Idaho Falls. I would recommend asking for Sean. He is great help, and he will have all the education you need for the Z-Kleiner recliner. Again, that's 711 East Anderson in Idaho Falls, or shoptimberline.com.
Okay, Julie, President Trump did an interview with Fox Noticias. That's their Hispanic channel.
Okay.
And did a sit-down interview, and he offered his take on former First Lady Jill Biden's role in the Biden administration. And Rachel Campo-Stuffy asked him whether he believed Jill Biden was former President Joe Biden's quote-unquote auto pen. And Trump said, no, I don't think so, but argued she was certainly involved because he gave her the last meeting to preside over with the cabinet. Trump was referring to the former First Lady's controversial attendance at one of Biden's last cabinet meetings in September of 24. The amount of alleged influence the former First Lady had over Biden and his administration had been a frequent source of controversy well before the September cabinet meeting. Trump attributed the influence on the former president to, quote, radical left lunatics rather than just Jill Biden. They had a lot of bad people. They had a lot of radical left lunatics in there, and I think he was perfect. He was perfect for them because he didn't have a clue. Biden's health and cognitive function were concerns during his time in office, notably after his debate performance against then GOP presidential nominee Trump last summer. In the months since Biden's departure, recently released books have offered insight into the former president's health and fitness for office. Trump did not name any names as to the radical leftists are, but I'm hopeful, Julie, in the coming years, we will find out who was calling the shots, because we know Grandpa Joe was not.
Right. It's obvious he wasn't. I don't know who was doing it. And it's hard to pick and choose who was doing it, because if you assign all of the credit to Joe Biden, he's your husband. What kind of a horrible person are you? What kind of a power-hungry person are you? At least there is a level of distance between, let's say, just for kicks and giggles, let's say it's Alex Soros.
Yeah.
Well, at least there's a level of distance there that you shouldn't be loving and caring and taking care of Joe Biden. You're actually putting your party and your philosophical desires ahead of everything else.
Yeah.
When you're the wife and the person who should be caring for the ailing spouse, that is so nasty and ugly.
Oh, it's super. It is ugly. Although, let me ask you this, because if you're Jill, and I agree with you, I think she's not a great person. I mean, Dr. Jill, excuse me. You're thinking, though, if we do the quote-unquote right thing, Joe is not fit to, they're not going to 25th Amendment him. So let's say he resigns. That just puts Kamala in power. Mm-hmm. And if you're Jill, you can't stand Kamala. I don't think those two ever had a good relationship. Maybe early on it was okay. They made it work. You could tell, though, the tensions just increased over the term, and especially after the switcheroo. That's when it all went really toxic. But if you're Jill, you're thinking, okay, Joe should not be the president out of protection for my husband. I understand that. The alternative is absolutely an intolerable option.
Yes. And maybe that's it. Maybe she could assign that sort of virtue to it, that we couldn't have Kamala in there, so there's not an option. We've got to stick with Joe. If that was the case, where was she when the letter was signed saying that the nomination was turned over to Kamala? Why was it okay then?
Yeah.
You know, if it wasn't okay the previous 2.5, 3 years or whatever, why was it okay to then have Joe give his blessing to having Kamala run?
Okay, so let's go back to that for just a moment.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a great question. But do you remember the conspiracies were out there that signature on Joe's resignation letter as the nominee, not as president, but as nominee, it just was weird. The whole thing was odd. And I had a thought, have they compared that signature with the auto pen? Was that letter auto penned?
Or was it just like me when I used to sign my dad's signature on my get out of class for the day?
Yeah, hypothetically.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. Was it that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I know. And those are questions that kind of we've moved on because there's been this hurricane of developments with Trump coming in. However, once the hurricane passes and the weather clears a little bit, I believe the Democrats, specifically those working around Joe Biden in the White House, have some splaining to do. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that Joe was lucid in that moment over that weekend when that letter was crafted and then released to the media.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a very personal question. You answer it as you feel that you could answer it. I don't want you to feel backed into a corner because I'm asking you this question. But your lovely mother,
yes,
is suffering with dementia.
Yeah.
If you were an evil person, how easy would it be to drug or incapacitate your mother for 5 or 6 hours?
Super. You wouldn't even have to do that. Like, you could just convince her of anything. Mm-hmm. She'd go along with anything if you told her certain things. And I believe there were moments when Joe didn't know he was president.
Mm-hmm.
And on the flip side of that, I think there are moments now where he still thinks he's president.
Yeah.
It's just back and forth.
It's interchangeable.
It is. It's very, very fluid and fluctuating. So I have no doubt that in Joe's compromised state, that late in his term, and it was getting more and more clear there was no way he was going to beat Donald Trump, especially after the debate. They had to make a move. They had to. If they wanted any chance at all at winning, they had to make a move. We knew Joe was resistant to that. We also knew that Jill was very resistant to it. I think it's very possible there were machinations in the White House to make that happen, get that letter out, get it dispersed to the media in a way that Joe could not reverse it later, that there just wasn't going to be any way to get it reversed. It may have involved Barack Obama. Certainly Kamala would have gone ahead with it because in that moment, she felt like she was the recipient of all of that. And I think there were far leftists in the White House that saw their horse. There was no way Joe was going to win. Mm-hmm. You got to go with a different horse. And so would anybody be surprised if we find out later that letter was either coerced or done without his permission and knowledge, and it just precipitated a series of events that the liberal Democrat establishment felt like had to happen in order to try and prevent Trump from winning?
Do I think that would be shocking at all? Absolutely not. I also am a little baffled, if that's what it was. I'm also a little baffled that they read the tea leaves so wrong.
Yeah.
That they really thought Kamala could win.
Yeah.
If you're going to switch course like this, that's the direction you go. You basically had a whole bunch of plays here. You could have done a lot of things.
Yeah.
The DNC could have named a person. You could have held a quick little caucus. Anything.
Is that, though, a hindsight's 2020 thing?
Maybe, but I honestly, looking at it from here, if we're going to play hindsight, if that's what we're going to do, if that's the direction we're going to go, maybe the potential is they had exhausted every other option.
Yeah.
It was just, there was not another choice.
Yeah. Yeah, that could be. And I think at that point, that was my thought, that Kamala was a horrible choice, but still may have been their only best choice. Like that, mm-hmm. That was it. It was the best choice they had, and it was still a horrible choice.
Maybe it was meant to be a sacrifice of her.
Yeah.
Get her out.
It might have been. All right, 9:54. We'll come back. We'll wrap it up after this. Okay. Check. Hold on. I think we're okay now.
So we got a whole bunch of texts in the last commercial break saying that they could hear Neal's voice over mics. When I finally saw them, I reached over to turn the mics down.
They were down.
Yeah. And there's just really not an explanation of how your voice was going over air.
No.
We don't know what's happening.
Because the rule has always been the only way it goes out over the air is if it's on and up. It has to be turned up. For anything to go out over the air in this mode, it has to be turned on. Yeah.
I'm not getting any texts.
Yeah, I think we're okay now.
We don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know what happened, but
No idea.
I don't know either. I was going to ask you, since we don't have a post show, did you hear that they've discovered a planet that they think could inhabit life? It was in the news today.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've seen similar stories every couple of years. You see one. What outlet?
Oh, it was in my news read, so ABC had it.
Oh, okay. Did you see it anywhere?
Other than that, I believe they talked about it on Fox and Friends as well, but I didn't see it in written form.
Here's one. CNN. Scientists detect signature of life on a distant planet. Let's see. Signs of past or present life linked to biological activity on an exoplanet named K2-18b, but the study authors and not declared a definitive discovery of life. Using the James Webb Space Telescope, the team detected chemical fingerprints within the atmosphere that suggest the presence of dimethyl sulfide and potentially dimethyl disulfide. On Earth, both molecules are only produced by microbial life, typically marine phytoplankton. It's 124 light years from Earth, could be a Hycean world, a potentially habitable planet entirely covered in liquid water with a hydrogen-rich atmosphere. His colleagues first theorized the concept of Hycean worlds in 2021 after determining there may be liquid water oceans on K2-18b. Oh, interesting. The planet is in the habitable zone of its star, meaning that the world is at just the right temperature and distance from the star to host liquid water on its surface. Yeah, that's a narrow window. Well, that's actually relatively close as far as the universe. 9:57 on News Talk 107.9. Not too late to get out to Town and Country Gardens to get your 4-step lawn program. Step 1, of course, is the humates. You put those down. That gets things moving microbially in your soil and very beneficial for your lawn. And then through the summer, a couple of rounds of fertilizer and lawn food, and then a round of winterizer in October, November. But it is definitely not too late. So get down to Town and Country Gardens and get started today.
Trust us, it's not that you just won't regret it. It's that you'll be so grateful. It's double layer there. So Town and Country Gardens, they are located south of Idaho Falls on Yellowstone Highway across from the malt plant.
All right, that's going to do it for us today. Julie and I back tomorrow for a Friday right here on News Talk 107.9.